Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live on this Friday, June the 21st. For some of you, it's still June the 20th, but it's June the 21st here in Australia. And it's the shortest day of the year for us. And for some of you, it's the longest day of the year. So we are in winter solstice and some of you are in summer solstice. Don't you just love that? I love how opposite things can be and how we're moving through the cycle of we're literally on the opposite to some of you guys. I find that continuously fascinating. So yeah, it is Friday the 21st of June. I was speaking to a client this morning and they said to me that obviously our days get longer moving forward from here. And they said to me this morning that I think tomorrow will be 2 minutes longer than today. So I was like, oh wow, there you go. So it's getting light. It's still pretty dark here in the mornings. It's not getting light here till about 7:30 in the morning, and then it's getting dark at around about 5:30. So yeah, this is how short it gets for us. And then it's going to get longer and longer again, which I find very exciting. So, but anyway, wherever you are in the world, I wish you, whether you are celebrating winter solstice like we are here, the shortest day of the year, or whether you are celebrating summer solstice, the longest day of the year, wherever you are in the world, I hope that you have an awesome day. It's also my sibling's birthday today, so I want to be a big shout out to Noah. Happy birthday to you, darling. I love you. Can't wait to see you tonight to celebrate. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so I'm going to just giving the live stream a few minutes to kind of let people know that I am here. And obviously, if you are listening and you have just joined, please, send me in any questions or let me know where you are listening from. Always love to hear or know where people are listening from in the world. And I'm just going to check the questions for today so I can, one sec, guys. Yep. Okay. So I'm just checking the questions today to see where. All right, perfect. So we've got a couple of questions here, so I'll answer those in a second. But if you have just joined, I am going live at a new time at the moment because a newer time because I'm trying to catch some of you guys because I know it's a bit late for you guys in the US and Canada. I thought it might be a little bit easier for some people to join me at this hour than where I was going live, which is another hour and a half from now. It was a bit late for some of you. So if you have just joined me, feel free to say hi. And if you have a question, make sure you pop it in the comments below for me. And I will double check the questions for today. It's been an interesting week this week. As always, when I do these lives, I always like to kind of talk about what are some of the themes that have come up this week, because I know if there are themes that have come up, whether it's with my relatable students or with my private clients, then I know it's something that's generally, going to be relevant to a lot of people. I always find because we're also universally connected, and we are, that when there are themes that come up, then I know that there are generally people who are struggling with the same thing, right? Or have questions about the same thing. So I tend to draw on those when I'm doing these lives with you. And obviously I'm also answering any questions that you have. So this week, I think there's been a couple of things that have really presented themselves with my students, with my private clients. And so I want to talk about those for a second, and then I'm going to come to the questions that have been sent through. But, the theme that I have seen a lot of this week, has been along the lines of, when we are, and I think this is very, very relevant to relationships, okay? When we don't understand the way something works, we look in the wrong direction for the answer. Okay, so when we don't understand the way something works, we look in the wrong direction for the answer. And when we look in the wrong direction for the answer, we go round and round in circles, we overcomplicate something, and we get very stuck And then we find that the same patterns tend to play out again and again in our relationships. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think one of the things, and this is something I do talk a lot about with my students and my clients, and I obviously go much deeper around that than what I can do in these lives. But I wanted to kind of give you an example or an idea of what I mean. If we don't understand how our reality is created, so in other words, if we believe that our well-being, that our emotional, our psyche, okay, let's just call it that, our well-being and our psyche is dependent on what's happening out here, that what's happening out here is a direct is in direct correlation to our well-being and our psyche, we are going to get very, 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 very concerned by what's going on out here. Okay. Now, when we get very concerned by what's going on out here, we naturally ruminate, we overthink, because that thing's not going the way we think it needs to go for us to be okay. That person's not behaving the way they need to in order for us to be okay. We ruminate, we overthink, we worry, and then we tend to either become quite controlling because we need that thing to change for us to be okay, or we withdraw and remove ourselves, neither of which are great for our relationships. Hey, Rick. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Appreciate that. So awesome to hear you writing. Yes, it is very exciting. And can I just say, not that it's ready, but this is, I got it printed, what I wrote in that week. This is what I wrote. This is what I've had printed so far. So now I'm at the editing stage, reworking stage, which is a very slow process. And then, you know, rewriting bits and pieces and creating segues and all that stuff. So yeah, I was very excited. I took this to Officeworks yesterday or the day before, got it all printed out so I could start redoing it, marking it, and getting it ready to send off to an editor. So yeah, it's thank you. It is very exciting. I surprised myself in what I was able to actually write in 7 days. I really did. I had no idea I'd be able to get that far. It was really quite amazing. But you know, this is what happens, and this is true of everything in life. This is what happens when we get out of our own way. Okay, this is definitely what happens when we get out of our own way. So I got out of my way. It took me a couple of days to get out of my way. I was overthinking it at first in the beginning, but I got out of my own way, and the book just started to pour out of me. We got into what, you know, you call that quantum flow of something, and and the book just started to pour out of me. So it's really exciting. I've probably got another 10,000 words to add in there, but it's very, very exciting. So thank you. Appreciate your support, Rick. I really, really do. So for those of you who've just joined us, what I was talking about, the theme that's kind of come out, you know, I tend to draw on themes with my clients and my relatable students when I do these lives with you. So one of the themes that's really come out this week, that's right, let go and let it flow, is when we don't understand how we create our reality, where our well-being comes from. When we don't understand this, and most people don't. This is not a judgment of anybody. This is not me saying that there's a problem, but we're just not taught this stuff. Okay, so most people aren't aware of this. So when we don't understand that, we look in the wrong place for the answer. Now, when we look in the wrong place for the answer, we get very stuck, we get very confused, we ruminate, we overthink, we get upset, we get angry, we get frustrated, and that's when we really struggle in our relationships, because we don't have the emotional capacity to deal with things. It looks like a person or a situation needs to be a certain way for us to be okay. So we feel like we are at the mercy of life, we're at the mercy of someone else, we're at the mercy of something. So we feel disempowered. Now, disempowered people struggle in relationships, okay? When we feel disempowered, we struggle. We really struggle. We tend to see things in terms of a situation or a person being bigger than us. We default back to our insecurities or our frailties. So, if you're someone who's more likely to react when things don't go your way, that's going to be heightened. If you're someone who's more likely to put your needs last and people please and make sure everyone else is okay, you're going to end up over functioning, getting exhausted and resentful. If you are someone who likes to go in and rescue people and fix things for everybody, that's going to play out in a much bigger form. And so all of these things take their toll on the quality of our connection, on our ability to communicate, our ability to get over something, our own resilience levels, and they affect our relationships. They affect the quality of our lives. They affect us in ways that we can't possibly imagine. They really do. They have a really big impact. And so this is why I am such a big believer in building a relationship from the ground up versus the top down. And ground up is you got to understand how human beings work, right? There's just fundamental principles that we have to understand about how human beings work that are true for everybody. Okay, that's what a principle is. It's something that's founded in truth. It's true for everybody. So we've got to know what these principles are, and then we build from there. But if we don't have an understanding of these things, it's kind of like throwing mud at the wall and hoping it sticks. It's like looking for the kitchen sink in the bathroom, and people get very confused and very, very stuck. And so then their frailties come out, their insecurities come out, okay? And they find themselves repeating patterns in their relationships. So this is how we repeat patterns. One of the major reasons people repeat patterns, and I really want to emphasize something here. A lot of people think they repeat patterns because of their upbringing, okay? Now, I just want to speak to that for a second. Yes, our upbringing has a role or a part to play in this because it creates habitual patterns of thought that we get addicted to. Okay, that's probably the best way to describe that. They create habitual patterns of thought that we get addicted to, and that we just kind of play over and over again in our heads. But really, when we don't understand how things work, when we don't understand fundamental principles of the way human beings operate, we overcomplicate everything. Okay, we go information gathering, we go talking to our friends. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What would you do? What would I like? We go everywhere else. And we get ourselves very, very stuck. We get ourselves really overwhelmed. And we then lead with our frailties and our insecurities. I see this happening again and 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 again. And so we end up in the same repetitive patterns. It's not so much about your past. Yes, your past has a role to play in that. But what I find is that even if you've been brought up, and I see this all the time with my students, I see this all the time with my private clients. Let's just say you are in a relationship with someone, or maybe you're that person who maybe they were adopted and they've always wondered where their birth parents were. Maybe there was someone who was brought up without a mother or a father. Maybe their mother or father didn't love them. Maybe like whatever it might be, right? And they feel like they were never really taught how to connect properly, or they were never really taught what love really looks like, or maybe they were never really taught how to communicate well. Maybe they feel like they are missing something because of the way they were brought up. Here's what I know is that when people have this understanding, that problem gets solved. They don't need to go back into their past and understand the ins and outs of every single thing. There's nothing broken. There's nothing missing. There's nothing wrong. It's just as they learn these fundamental principles of how human beings work, that gets taken care of very quickly and very simply, because the power of looking at a principle that applies to everybody is so overwhelmingly strong. It is so extraordinary. It's so incredible that it doesn't matter what has happened in your past. As soon as you learn this, your now and your future becomes about leading operating from, generating from, communicating from, understanding from the understanding of how people work rather than what happened in your past. Okay? And so this is why I love teaching this so much, because we kind of bypass all of that stuff, because you're not really going to find the answers in the past, guys. You really won't. You may, and I find this with people all the time. They'll come to me and say, yeah, I've done a lot of work on my past. I've done a lot of work on understanding myself, but I still find in a moment of now when I'm triggered, I explode. Or in a moment of now when I'm triggered, I withdraw. Or in a moment of now when I'm triggered, I get really controlling. Or in a moment of now when I'm triggered, I do the same thing that I always do, right? Hey, Peter. Hi, Fiona, looking good in blue. Thank you, Peter. It is so cold here. It's well, this morning. Melbourne's in the southeastern part of Australia is in a cold snap. I think it was about 2 degrees when I started work this morning, which was very early, but still freezing. So yes, it's jumper weather here. So thank you, Peter. Hello, Fiona, looking good in blue. Yes, you taught me to be curious and not to judge quickly. We can evolve if we choose to. I love the now. Oh, that's beautiful, Peter. I love those words. Yes, you do start to fall in love with the now. I love that. Thank you, Peter. You do. You know what happens when you fall in love with the now? You don't need all of that intense overthinking that we all carry around with us that gets in the way of everything. Because so many of us have all of this thinking about the past and all of this thinking about the future, and it means that we're not present. We struggle to connect. We struggle to get over ourselves. We struggle to let things go. And of course, our relationships and really the quality of our lives suffer. It is amazing how, when you understand how human beings work, how beautifully designed we are, you can fall in love with the now. And the now is awesome. The now is the only place where love resides. Okay? It is the only place where love resides. It doesn't reside in the past. It doesn't reside in the future. Neither of those things exist anymore. The past doesn't exist anymore. You realize that, guys. The now doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the now. That's it. And the way you listen, meet it, show up to it, handle it is everything. Everything. And so when people learn this, when people understand this, they put down all of the mental load. And so much of when we put down mental load, so many of our frailties and our insecurities get put down with it. There's more of us on offer. There's more mental space. There's capacity for a greater level of emotional intelligence, connection, all of the good, yummy stuff that we all love and that we're looking for. We are far more relatable. Okay, we're far more relatable, and we become very good at relationships because we're naturally designed to do them well anyway. And so when all of that thinking falls away, that's what we get to do more of. And then we get to see that in ourselves. We get to understand that in ourselves. Okay, and we get to become more loving. And this is true for everybody. We get to become more loving. And for me, that's where it's all about. We had a really big chat about this on the Relatable call on Wednesday night, actually. I run Relatable calls twice a week. We had a really big chat about love on Wednesday night. We were talking about the gap from, where we might be stuck somewhere, or we might be having an experience we don't want, or we're worried about something, or we're caught in a lot of thinking that we don't want, right? And we know that we're overthinking. We know that we're worried. We know that we're scared or stressed or angry or frustrated or all of those sorts of things, right? We have that awareness, but it's like, I want to get to here. I want to get to that point where I feel peaceful and calm and I've let something go. And we were like, what do you think that gap is? What do you think it is? And, it's love, right? It's your capacity to step into that, to experience it, to own it, to come from that space. It's your capacity for that. Now, this is something every human being on the planet is designed to do really, really well. So we're having an enormous, really beautiful conversation about that for the hour or so that the call went on Wednesday. And so, every time we talk about things and we look in this direction, our understanding of ourselves, of each other, of human beings deepens. Now, as our understanding deepens, we become calmer. We become more peaceful. We become more present. We become more loving, kinder, compassionate, generous. This is what it's all about. And we see things very, very, very deeply. Now, your depth of understanding of something transforms your emotional capacity, transforms it instantly, immediately. Doesn't matter what's happened about the past. As your mind gets quieter, your capacity for connection, your capacity for love, your capacity for understanding, your capacity to generate that goes through the roof. And so this is why I say that when it comes to building a relationship from the ground up, there are just fundamental principles we need to know. And so these have been some of the themes that I have noticed this week that I wanted to share with you guys, and just check in and see whether that's helpful to you, whether you can see how some of these things have impacted the way you show up or your level of understanding. Because the more we understand human beings, the more we relax. Okay, the more we relax, because the deeper our understanding, the less need for fear, for conflict, for worry, for over-functioning, all of those things that get in the way. The less we rely on those things, and the more we're able to bring something else to the table. Now, this is the capacity in every single human being, and this is what I love when someone sees this within themselves. All right, because all of a sudden they are no longer beholden to what has happened in their past. They are no longer living in fear of that, running away from that, trying to manage that. It's like that gets to stay where it is, and I get to bring a whole different me to the table. Now, people don't understand how much capacity we have for that. It is extraordinary, really. And for me, the thing that gets me so excited is when a human being discovers that for themselves, because the ripple effects of that just go out to places you can't possibly imagine. And I'm all about ripple effects. Some of you guys have heard me say this before. I'm all about the ripple effects. Peter, so true. When I take a photo now, I don't just see the subject, I feel it. There's definitely a difference. Yeah, awesome. That's right, because you're present and connected and plugged in, Peter. And we need more present, connected, and plugged in people in the world. We do. This is what the world desperately, desperately needs more of. More present, connected, and plugged in people. Because present, connected, and plugged in people show up completely differently to people who are not. Totally. They move through life in a different energetic frequency. They generate a different feeling. It is totally different. They create emotional safety for the people around them. They connect easily. It feels amazing. It feels amazing. Now, when you know that you can generate that and it's not dependent upon something being a certain way out here, that is true emotional freedom. Now, a human being who understands emotional freedom, truly, who understands emotional freedom, where to find it, how it works, they are amazing at relationships, right? They are incredibly relatable. They feel good. They're lighter. They generate a completely different feeling. It's really, so for me, this is what I get very, very excited about. And I do everything in my power to help people to see that for themselves. Because when one person does, it has this incredible knock-on ripple effect. Now I'm just going to check in and make sure, just see, is this making sense to you guys? Do you have any questions about what I'm talking about? Is there anyone else out there who wants to say hi and let me know where you're listening from? I would certainly love to know where you are. I really appreciate hearing where people are listening from, and it helps me to know, is this time a good time? I have changed the time, and I know it's going to take a little while for people to catch on to recognizing that and seeing that. Okay, so let me just, so now that I've been talking about some of the themes that have come up this week, let's talk about some of the questions that I've got here. Okay. All righty. So a question that I've got here is, where is it? Sorry, guys. Hi, Fiona. I've heard you ask us many times, what is it that we want to create? And I struggle in understanding what that means, because I know I'm someone who's always kind of reacting to life rather than focusing on what it is I want to create. And I know that that would go a long way in changing how I interact with my partner. At the moment, we're going through a really, hang on, I'm just reading this. We're going through a real rough patch. We're in a really awful cycle where I get angry and they shut down. And I'm constantly thinking about all the things that I don't want. And I'd love some help in eradicating all of that negativity. So I know for me, sorry, this is really long and I'm just trying to read through some of it. I know for me that starting with what I want to create would be really helpful, because that's not a question I ask myself. Okay, cool. Oh, Rick, thank you. That's so beautiful. I'm going to show this here because I've had many teachers' guides, and Fiona is at the top of the list because she reminded me to love myself, which released my love for life and people. My life is amazing now, and relatable and Fiona's private coaching awakened my spirit. Oh, Rick. Oh, thank you. You're going to make me cry. Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful, Rick. Thank you. I cannot tell you how much that means to me. And I'm so happy for you that you're living a life that you love, Rick. You so deserve that. It's awesome. Good for you. It's beautiful. Thank you. It means the world to me. I'm going to get really emotional. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for Peter. And can I just say, I love the fact that I've got 2 men commenting on my live stream here. I really have. I think it helps give permission to other men to get involved in things like this, to join these things. I have a lot of men in my relatable program. I have a lot of male clients, and men love learning this understanding. They really do. I find a lot of men take to this like a duck to water, because it's like, this makes sense to me. It's practical. It's something that helps me in a moment of now. I have a greater level of understanding of myself. It makes so much sense. It's really helpful because I've got something tangible, yet something that expands me at the same time that I have to work with. So I love that. I love that I've got 2 guys on here commenting. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Because I think men can sometimes get caught up in this really limiting belief or limiting view of, this is not something I should get help with. I should be able to work this out for myself. And the suicide rate for men is 3 to 1 to women, right? That is a statistic, a horrifying, devastating statistic out there in the world. And so having men come up here and comment and share, it's awesome. It's awesome. See, this is the ripple effects that I'm talking about. I hope that there is a male out there that sees this and realizes that it's okay to get help. It's okay to learn something new. It's okay to be uncomfortable, because the payoff is just huge. All right. It's absolutely huge. So thank you so much, both of you, Peter and Rick, for being an amazing example of that. Hey, Kim, I was actually thinking about you and Jim this morning. I really was. I was wondering how you guys are. 95 plus. Wow, that's super hot for you guys. That is amazing. Amazing. Oh, 95 plus. That sounds pretty warm. So good for you. I'm glad that you're having a nice hot summer. Thank you, Peter. You make it relatable, Fiona. Thank you so much. 3 guys, lol, you are the best. Jim, I just don't do Facebook, so share Kim's. Okay. It is. Sorry, I beg your pardon, Jim. I just saw your name in brackets. I missed that totally. Okay, so there's 3 guys here. Jim, who's commenting under Kim's Facebook, Rick and Peter. I love it. This is awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's fantastic. All righty. So where was I? Okay, so just in response to the question that's come through, hey Roz, thank you, darling. Thank you for saying hi. It's nice to see you, honey. I hope you're well. Absolutely, guys. You get to be heard without judgment, and the wisdom flows up from within. Inner peace is amazing. It is amazing. I tell you, Rick, it is so amazing. I was actually speaking to someone yesterday. I know I keep going off on tangents here. I'm going to come back to this question. I was speaking to someone yesterday. This is someone who's not a client at this stage. They were just they were inquiring with me, and it was a guy, and he said to me, you know, Fiona, I just, ever since COVID, I feel so disillusioned with the world. I feel so disillusioned with life. I feel so disillusioned with everything. And I've not been able to feel good since. All I see is division in the world. All I see, the lies that get told by the media, by this, by that. So he's sharing this. And he said, I'm really struggling to get past that, to put it down, to let it go. And I said to him, look, I completely understand that. It's so easy to look out here in the world and feel disillusioned. I can understand that. I really can. Okay. When we look at some of the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, it is devastating. It is, it's overwhelming. It's stressful. It's all of those things. It's so easy to look out in the world and just feel sick to your stomach. It's so easy to look in the world and feel disillusioned, right? Because there is a lot of things that don't make sense going on in the world, and I'm not immune to that stuff. I do see it. All right, it's not that I'm kind of pretending that it's not there. But as I said to this gentleman, I said, what you've got to understand that even with all of those things going on in the world, love is the most powerful force there is. It is far, far more powerful than negativity, right? Far, far more powerful than negativity. I saw this awesome clip. I need to find it so I can share it. It was a clip on Instagram yesterday of two people passing one another in the street, and there was a little girl skipping. So you may have seen this. Some of you may have seen it. I thought it was one of the coolest clips I've seen for a while. It's a little girl skipping. So she's skipping towards this guy who's walking past her. So she's skipping along, and she skips right past him. Doesn't look behind her. She just keeps skipping down the street. And the guy that she's walking past, and you can tell this is being taken by a street view camera that's on the side of a building somewhere. It's a surveillance camera. And the guy that's walking past her, as she skips off, and they don't look at each other. He doesn't look behind. She doesn't look behind her. As she skips off, he just starts skipping down the street. And I thought, I love that. And it was sort of saying, you don't know the ripple effect of your own light. And I thought that was just a perfect example. She skipped off, and he'd been kind of trudging along with his bags. And all of a sudden, by looking at her, it set off something within him, and he skipped off down the street. And I thought, this is it. This is what it's all about, right? When we look at life and we see all the negativity, and we see all of the division, and we see all of that, it's easy to feel angry. It's easy to feel down. It's easy, but that just keeps perpetuating that. Right? It keeps perpetuating that, and people don't innocently realize that they become a part of that. They are now a part of that whole thing, and they're now perpetuating it. When you bring love, and it is easy to find love, and it is easy to generate, believe me, I promise it is. It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more energy to generate negativity and upset and judgment than it does to generate love. I'm telling you, this is true. Okay? When you start generating that, the ripple effects of that are on people so much more powerful than when you are generating negativity. So you have to understand, this is very important for everybody. Life is not just about you. You are connected to all things, and how you show up and what you choose to bring has an impact that goes way beyond anything you could ever possibly imagine. That little girl who skipped past that man that I was just telling you about, they didn't speak. She may never see him again. They don't know each other. They didn't have any physical connection, but energetically, yes, they did. Her energy rubbed off on his, and off it went. She had no idea of the impact of that moment in now on that man. Now, as he's skipping down the street, what do you think his impact could possibly be on somebody else? And then the impact on that person and that person and that person and that person. This is the power that you have. And so, when people shut down and disappear, when they don't have the courage, and it takes courage to do the work, to learn about themselves, to get over their stuff, to show up differently, this is the impact that has, right? Versus someone who does have the courage, to have a look at themselves, to show up differently, to, do the things that Jim has done, Peter has done, Roz has done, Rick has done, right? Now, the ripple effect of that in the world, you have that power, you have that choice. That is on you. We always have that choice. We can shrink away. We can get caught up in our fears and our insecurities. We can stick our head in the sand and say, it's too hard. My past has been too hard. Life is too hard. There's no point. What's the point? There's so much negativity in the world. I don't know what's going to happen. You can generate that, right? But the ripple effect of that, right? I want you to think about it. What that has on the people around you, and then the people around them, and then the people around them. You are the generator. What do you want to generate? And yeah, it's hard to recognize that you're the generator when you don't understand how things work. But when we understand how human beings work, the psychological functioning of a human being, the principles that all human beings are governed by the same principles. When we understand that, all of a sudden we step into that pathway of being the generator. We start generating. It's like it becomes a no-brainer to generate love. It becomes a no-brainer to generate compassion, joy, understanding, curiosity. It becomes a no-brainer because it's like, why would I want to generate that when I can generate that? And when you see that, you just get to step more fully into it. Now, does that mean you're a joyful, happy person every second of every day? No, but that's not the point, right? That's not what we're aiming for. What we're aiming for is the awareness of what we're bringing to the table. What we're aiming for is the understanding of what we're generating and what we're creating, which comes back to, things always kind of move back in full circle to the question that was just asked earlier. All right. Yes, there is so much beauty in this world. You're so right, Rick. There is so much beauty in this world. We are on the most extraordinary planet. Planet Earth is an extraordinary planet. There is beauty everywhere. But it's up to you if you want to see it or not. You have that choice. Way more than you can ever possibly understand. And that choice ripples out to families, individuals, communities, like cities. It just does. It ripples out. You are an important part of that. Every single person has a role to play in that, right? Every single person. This is why this matters so much. This matters so much. Because as more and more people create ripples, it lifts the level of humanity. Yes, it does. That's the game that I'm playing. That's the space that I'm operating at. That's what I want to have some influence over in whatever way I can. And so when I see these beautiful comments from people like Jim and Kim and Peter and Roz, I'm like, and Rick, sorry. When I see that, I'm like, these are people out there creating ripples. It's beautiful. It's like I couldn't ask for a greater gift. Now, you all have that capacity. You just sometimes, it takes courage and bravery to look in this direction. But like anything, the rewards are extraordinary. Way more than you can ever possibly imagine. So coming back to this question, where this person is saying, I want to focus on what I want to create because I'm my partner and I are in a really difficult cycle of, me reacting, them shutting down, which is so common, guys, right? That figure 8 where someone's reacting and someone shuts down. It's the most common dynamic out there. Okay, I draw it in the shape of a figure 8 because both of them have the same impact. Can you see that? Someone who gets reactionary has the same impact on someone who shuts down. It creates the same impact. Okay, whether you react or you shut down, it creates the same impact. It's frailty meeting frailty. It's insecurity meeting insecurity, right? It's fear meeting fear. And so that's what it continues to generate, right? It continues to generate the same thing. Now, when someone breaks that pattern, when someone no longer is a part of that figure eight, okay, they break that pattern, that's your best chance for generating something else. And it is possible for you to do that without waiting for someone else to change. You can be the change. You can. Now, it's so much easier to be the change when you understand the way things work. So I just want to quickly, because I've been talking for 40 minutes, far out. Where does this time go? Rick, I know there is a lot of shit stuff there in the world, but I look with love and gratitude and I don't really see it. Yeah, I see beauty and love in the now everywhere. Yeah, that's right. I love that, Rick. Thank you. See the beauty and love in the now everywhere. This is possible, guys. Now, the feeling of that is amazing. And so when you see that and you're in the feeling of that, you want to generate more of it. When I'm in the feeling of beauty and love, the feeling of negativity is so not interesting to me. It's like, why would I want to be in the feeling of that when I can be in the feeling of that? And as someone who used to be incredibly reactionary, many of you know my story, I was someone who could go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. And nothing I ever learned or knew really shifted the needle around that for me until I came across this understanding when I started to learn the psychological functioning of a human being. I started to learn these principles. It no longer made sense. It just doesn't make sense to me anymore. When I can generate an amazing feeling, why would I want to generate that feeling? Like, and why would I want to be in the feeling of it? And why would I want the people I care about to be in the feeling of that? Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, when something doesn't make sense, it becomes much easier to create change around, right? So much easier. Hey, Susan. Hi. So good to see you, honey. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for saying hi. So coming back to this question, when you are thinking about what you want to create, because we get so distracted out, this is the problem with our humans, right? Our humans are so easily distracted. I cannot tell you how easily. Everything is a constant distraction, all right? And we go down these rabbit holes and we're so distracted that we don't think about what we want to actually create, right? We're in distraction mode because we think that life is about what's going on out here. We don't understand that that's got nothing to do with it. There is no correlation between out here and in here. That is such a hard thing for people to see, but there is no correlation. And I can prove that to you. Don't have time to prove it to you right now, but I prove that multiple times again and again and again inside my relatable program. Hi, Juliet. Do you think we are too busy rescuing people instead of starting with ourselves first? Well, that's true for some of us, definitely. Definitely. Okay, definitely. Because now, do you want to know why people rescue people? Do you want to know why? Why do you think someone rescues someone? Why do you think they do that? Anyone want to have a go at answering that question? Why do you think people rescue people? Anyone want to have a go at answering that? Why do you think people rescue people? Okay. For the sake of moving forward with this live, hi, Leonie. They are uncomfortable. It's a cycle and avoids their own stuff. True. Those things are true. But the bigger reason as to why someone rescues someone is because that person is looking for love, right? They're looking for love. The rescuer is looking for love. That's what they're looking for. They want love. And for them, when they take care of something for someone, when they fix something for someone, when they rescue someone, they think that's the best way for them to get love, right? And to feel loved. But the problem with this is when you rescue someone, people feel disempowered, right? The person you've rescued feels disempowered. What you're saying to that person is, you can't fix this yourself. I don't believe in you. You need me to do it for you. So that person feels disempowered. They feel like the victim. Now, when someone feels like a victim long enough, they get frustrated and they get angry, and they take that anger out on the person who's rescued them. That's what happens. You see this all the time. Parents who overfunction with kids, people who overfunction in families. And so the person who's doing all the rescuing starts to feel unappreciated. And instead of getting love, they feel resentment. They feel unappreciated and they feel resentment, right? And the person who they've rescued doesn't feel appreciated. They feel disempowered. And so we're not creating a cycle of love, are we? We're creating a cycle of fear. This is what happens. Innocently, people do this to each other all the time. Now, I promise you, if you understood how human beings work, it would stop making sense for you to rescue people. People don't need rescuing. And there is a far easier way for you to get love than by rescuing another human being. True story. Far, far easier way for you to get love than by rescuing another human being. Okay? Thank you for your comments, everybody. I'm reading them. And there's all elements in truth in everything that you're saying, right? It is. But if we're looking for the overarching theme here, that's what people are looking for. So if you are a rescuer, you need to find a healthier way to generate and feel love. And that's on you. Okay? When you realize that you don't need someone else to be a certain way for you to feel loved, you have emotional freedom and you get to be who you've always wanted to be. You get to show up in a way you've always wanted to show up. You get to generate something you've always wanted to generate. Your whole world changes. Now, this is true for everybody. Okay, I am way over time. I should not even be speaking for this long. I doubt whether anyone would even watch a replay of this for this is 46 minutes now. This is nuts. Hey, Juliet, you're so welcome, honey. You are so very, very welcome. I don't even know if I've answered this person's question, but I really have to go. If I didn't answer your question properly, I think I half started in there and I got distracted. I will come back to it next week, I promise. But I really do need to fly. I hope this has been helpful, everybody. If you are someone who wants to know more about my Relatable program, if you want to book a chat with me and find out more about it, you are very welcome to book a time with me. I will put the link to book a chat with me in this stream. I'll do it in a second. And Relatable is an amazing program. It truly is, guys. If you want to know more about this, experience emotional freedom, stop the overthinking, join an incredible, loving community of students all over the world. We generate magic every week on our live calls and in that community. Book a call with me today and I'll explain it all to you and answer any questions that you have. Thanks, Rick. Really appreciate your comments, everyone, and your support. And I will see you here next Friday. If you do have a question for me, please send it to hello@fionalukeis.com.au and I will answer it for you the next time I go live. Here is the link to book a chat with me. You're very welcome to do so. I'm going to show this on the screen. There's the link. If you want to book a chat with me and find out more about Relatable. Okay, everybody, sending you lots of love. Have a great week. See you next week. Thanks for your support, everyone. Ciao.